Hi everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Friday to you and your family. We're taking a look here at Wojack, seeing what's going on. It is doing almost exactly what we expect it to do, within reason, of course. And again, you can never expect things to go perfectly in trading. That's just kind of how it works, right? Ups and downs, quite literally. But what we take a look at here, we can kind of see with the potential playout chart I sent on my Twitter yesterday, we can see, of course, that the price did break out from this ascending wedge, came back down to retest the support at 0.618, while it did wick down all the way to 0.5, roughly 71,000. It ended up bouncing pretty firmly off this 80,000 mark and came up to retest this range right there at about, 105 and a half, okay? So really cool stuff to see. We'll go ahead and remove this here and take a look at that as well. But generally speaking, if you're new to the channel, keep in mind, I love teaching people to trade. I hope you can learn something here today. You want to become a better trader? CryptoCash.tech is the website, link down below, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that here in just a moment. And just to preface as well, too, if you could please help us grow the community, our Twitter community here. Of course, we got some really awesome stuff, but it's a great way to be able to kind of interact and engage with our community. So be sure to check this out. If you're not already following, make sure you enable notifications so you can be up to date on a lot of really cool and important fundamental and technical data. We got charts and everything you really need to know to become a better trader all right here as well. Furthermore, too, obviously on our homepage, you can also become a better trader. CryptoCash.tech, we have trade signals for day trading and swing trading, as well as, of course, a community where I learn or teach you how to learn yourself. Speaking is hard, right? On Friday, I've noticed I'm not communicating very well, but I hope that you can kind of work through that and see what's going on here. So what's going on with Wojack? Best way to describe it is that the price action is continuing upwards. We are seeing this nice little ascending trend, and it's breaking out pretty nice. So there's a great chance we're going to see this level here retested. We can kind of see somewhat of a cup and handle, right? Where the price is retesting that area multiple times, soon to break. Even though we are breaking down here for the moment, there's a good chance that we are willing and ready to get through that resistance level soon. Once we see that break, then it'll be in price discovery and we'll be in a situation where the price action is going to do very good things. Keep in mind too, if you consider just say candle bodies instead of candle wicks over here, you can see that we already have broken through this all-time high and the price came up to retest that level a few times, and the likelihood of a bounce off that area is pretty high as well. Okay, so again, there's a lot of little schools of thought here you can kind of go with, but generally speaking, it's definitely looking good here. Now keep in mind, we don't have enough data here really to be able to analyze much on the daily, because I love to be able to look at the macro first and identify. We really have to stick with the 4 hour through the 15-minute today, but the bottom line is that with the RSI, it's a 14-day lag. We can see that there's a bounce off of 70 on the RSI already, so kind of reaffirming the fact that we have that continuation potential. Keep in mind, in order to correctly sell your position, the best thing to do is to wait for the price to drop below 70 and to close below. That's my recommendation on most time frames. Not necessarily more so on the daily, but more so on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. Those are more important things to recognize. All right, that being said, here's where we're at. On the 4 hour, stochastic's looking good. We are not overextended. We're not too far in either direction. RSI bounced off of 50 here recently, roughly 2 or 3 trading days ago when I first covered this, and we are still staying above. Okay, so keep in mind that little support range is awesome. We also need to note too that money flow index is higher. So we're starting to see more money flowing into this over the last 14 candlesticks. It really just tells us that the average of the last couple of days, for lack of better terms, has been very, very bullish. Okay, so very good stuff there in that sense. And we have more money coming in, so to speak, so that's a really positive sign. Even though it looks like it's tapering off, it's still absolutely high volume considering how much higher the price is, right? Because again, you can get massive volume with price points this low. But when the price starts coming up, the volume does tend to dissipate, but it's relative to the overall amount of volume in the coin, right? Because obviously the price goes up, people are going to be able to afford less, but it's still very much realistic and holding true to this ascending trend. Speaking of ascending trend, take a look at this 20-day simple moving average. You can see working alongside the price action here, this ascending trend. So what we want to pay attention to is when the price action drops below either this trend line or the 20-day simple moving average, then we want to have a different conversation and kind of see and reevaluate things. Between now and then, we have to assume the trend will continue, and that's a case in point where we want to make sure that we double check and kind of stay on top of this, but also note that we are on the right side of tracks, and the likelihood of further upside makes a lot more sense than the price pulling back. Once again, there's a few other things we want to factor in. We got to take a look at TD sequential here. We're up to an 8 So the last 4-hour candles, basically almost 36 hours or 32 hours, we've seen continuation of the upside with little to no consolidation. You could argue that this is a consolidation area, but there's a lot of wicks up and down. I'm sure the 1 hour will reflect a positive continuation of the upside, but simply put, we are overextending ourselves to the upside. We've been running for a day and a half now in the same direction, and it's just a matter of time before the price will pull back. Keep this in mind. It's not a guarantee though. In these type of parabolic runs, you can see where the price came up to a 9 previously. Should have turned around, but it went crazy instead, okay? So if we were to break through this level here of just say 110,000, 110 essentially is a round number, you're going to be able to see some price discovery, and it could very well continue. So I would kind of take this with a grain of salt that the TD sequential on the 4-hour isn't necessarily 100% important, but it's also equally important to recognize it's there, right? Kind of like an elephant in the room. You can kind of see it, you know it's there. Should you approach it? Probably not. I don't know. That's a terrible analogy, but I try. All right, so with Wojack here on the 1 hour, we can see some sporadic behavior, more sporadic than others. Like for example, Pepe coin on the hourly, it's up, over, up, over, up, over. It's consistent. Wojack's jumping up and down a little bit more volatile than a traditional type of continuation. I would like to say is healthy. But here's the healthy part about it. Instead of just kind of this up over pattern that I'd like to look for, which isn't there, we can see a lot of continuation here. In other words, higher lows are continuously being established. So we want to make sure this most recent low here, the current 1 hour candlestick that is going to close in 41 minutes, doesn't effectively close below this 83,000 point. Because again, it's okay to double bottom, right? Double bottoms are fine. But if we have the second bottom is lower than the first, then we're establishing lower lows, and that's the first sign of a trend reversal to the downside, okay? So to me, I'm going to pay attention to lower lows as that occurs. The bottom line here is that we have a pretty healthy continuation-ish. Again, it's not like the best. It's supposed to be a little more consistent. But with this one here, it's consistently creating higher highs and higher lows, or at least higher lows. And you can kind of see this. We have another wedge type of breakout potential. If we kind of look at this here, and then you take this guy right here, you can see the price action is working itself into a wedge, right? And it's inevitable for it to break to the upside because of that. Because once again, the main reason why is because we're establishing higher lows in this trend, right? And then we're making concurrent higher highs. Or, sorry, not even concurrent higher highs, parallel highs, right? And in that sense, the key takeaway here is that we are retesting this high multiple times and then inevitably breaking through, because the sellers can only sell so much at that point. They're running out of coins, right? So once you squeeze them out there, the price will inevitably shoot up from there. And that's where we're going to be into an interesting place once we reach price discovery. Let's talk about price discovery and how that works. So big picture, price discovery can be kind of interesting. And what we want to look at in order to kind of determine and kind of, well, anticipate what's going to happen next. In other words, when it comes to Fibonacci retracement levels, if the price were to continue higher, normally a traditional Fibonacci retracement level would look like this. It would, because we're coming from the most recent low to the most recent high, right? It's expecting the price to pull back. If the price doesn't pull back, we're going to have a reverse scenario here where the price continues higher. And once we're in price discovery, then there's usually two places that the price will go. It'll hit 1.272 or 1.618. Likely retest this support level here. So run with me here for a second. Let me make this a little easier. Let's turn off all this extra stuff so you can kind of see what I mean. And what I'm getting at here is that when you break through a key level resistance, just say we've retested this level roughly 4 times, this range. Once it breaks, it'll come up, it'll reject, in most cases at 1.272. That is roughly 129,000, round up 130. It'll come back down to retest this previous resistance as a support and inevitably continue higher. The next stop in most cases is 1.618. Now the reason why I know this is just because I've been analyzing charts for like almost 20 years now, and I can tell you that specifically with cryptocurrency in these type of bullish trends, which I've seen quite a few of them, these levels are very common to occur. Okay, so again, we saw that with Pepe coin earlier. It just literally took off and bounced off these key level resistances, and I think it's very probable that Wojack will do the same. Okay, so just be mindful and pay attention here. The case in point where we're going to see the price continue higher if it were to break this resistance level would be 130,000 as a round number. That might be a good profit target taking location, and then of course buy the dip when it comes back down to test 110, and then consider reselling at 155. That's essentially how I typically set up my trades in these scenarios here. But again, is there a guarantee it's going to happen? No, but these coins are taking off and doing quite well. the first step we need to acknowledge is that it's trying to establish lower lows right now. If it does that, then all this stuff is null and void. We gotta kind of have a different conversation, and we gotta talk about the moving averages on the 4 hour. Okay, we gotta pay attention to this 20-day simple moving average. So, is it gonna break the trend to the downside or the upside? That will be the catalyst to let us know which direction it's going to head. If it does come down, there's a decent chance we could very well see the price action come down to these 0.618, 0.5 or 0.382 levels. So, for lack of better terms, 82,000. 75,000 and or 66,000 would be the next potential targets. And those are dollar cost average targets. I'll send this chart out on Twitter, of course. I do this every single time I make a video, just so you know, so you can kind of stay abreast on the things. But generally speaking, here's that long trade we took with Solana. Ended up hitting our profit target this morning for a nice 22%. That was fantastic. But bottom line here is we got tons and tons of stuff here. Oh, here's like a Pepe chart, for example. Expected to bounce off this level. It did. Now it's going parabolic, right? So these are things you want to check out and reference yourself. That is all available on our homepage there. But more importantly, links down below, everything else. I'm sorry, I got overly wordy today. I was trying to make sure to describe everything and how it works. I hope you found benefit and obviously did yourself a favor and watched all the way through. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take good care.